watching SKST Radio.
Well, welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and you are tuned in to the Kami Grayson Show. And today we're doing Small Business Network, and I got a new friend. She goes by the name of Carrie. Carrie is so very. Hey, Carrie, welcome to the show.
Guys, thank you so much, Kami. Great to be here with you.
Oh, we were happy you had time to visit with us today. You know, this is so cool.
I love it.
Carrie, tell people who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Carrie Freshour. I am, a lot of things. I am a clinical social worker by training and by life experience. I am also a mama of two. I have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. So I learn through those life experiences in the lens of being their mama every day. And I've been working in this field of behavioral health and people for about 25 years now. I just feel like it's kind of a part of me and who I am. And so becoming a social worker was a natural progression to really all those things. So yeah.
Oh, wow. So are you a private social worker or?
Well, yeah, currently I own my own company and consulting business. Over the course of my career, I like to tell people I've always worked in this field from either in the industry of hospitality, which is just as much training for social work and psychology as anything. Right. I say it all the time. That's what, paid the bills and got me through college and a big part of my education. But I've really always worked with people from crisis nurseries and preschools when I was younger, to working in, with at-risk youth and in, residential treatment centers, just really always looking to understand. And I think that was a big part of my work and my career, is really always trying to seek to understand. I've also lived through some things. I'm pretty open about that now today. And it's a really big part of what led me to be a consultant and start on my own. And that is, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of childhood abuse, but I'm also a survivor from a mama who experienced a lot of multi-generational trauma at a time when we didn't talk about it, right? It was not common. Right. And what that felt like, and all of the cognitive bias that I grew up believing about myself, about the world, about other people. And then as I became trained more formally and was a leader and was working in the field of behavioral health, I just really started to see this dichotomy of what we said it should be, our best practice, if you will, the science we've got to prove those best practices, and then our actions and the humanity of it all, right? How we are as people. And I just really started to learn kind of in the back of my mind quietly that we weren't always walking the walk. And I was spending a lot of time beating myself up and learning that wasn't just me. So that, really long story short, led me to consulting. And it was a side hustle for a long time. And then 2019 happened. And our family experienced another trauma, another crisis, and we lost our entire home to a fire. It was right before COVID. And that experience, I was an executive director. I was helping lead an organization that was an anti-trafficking, human trafficking organization. We were trauma driven. We were trauma informed. And man, when I experienced trauma, that is not how I felt. And that really started something in me, but I wasn't in a place. I was in trauma. I was in crisis. So, that really led me to starting to feel and think some things resonate with me differently, through a new lens, new perspective. And then bam, COVID came. Whoa, all of a sudden we had a baseline, because my friends who hadn't experienced trauma, now they were experiencing something real different.
Yeah.
And it just started to highlight some things to me about our world and our life. And so one of the things I made a promise to do was to dig into this career, to dig into this path, this calling, right, that I felt led to not be silent anymore and to break down silent cultures. And so, yeah, that I could go on and on. You get me on
Yeah,
my.
but this is amazing though. This is kind of how life is now, right? You accept your past, and now you can, we've all experienced something, right?
Something, yes.
Yes. And so, to talk about it, it makes you feel better. It's part of that health, self-care, it makes you feel better. And now that you've understand yourself, now you can share with the world and
Yeah.
explain to them it's okay to feel this way.
That it's okay and that it doesn't, there are a couple of things that start to happen, right? I have a certain view about myself as someone who's lived and experienced trauma through literally almost every developmental stage of my life. So if you think
Mhm.
about that, right?
Mhm.
We experience things in our lives, but the time in which we experience them matter. And if we experience them at 3 to 5, like I initially did, think about what we're learning at 3 to 5 in a normal development, right? And then you add in a parent who is doing her damn best to be a good mama, right? Sorry
Mhm.
if I curse, sometimes
No,
that comes
you're
out.
good. You're good.
To be a good mama and was doing a lot of things right to be the best she could be, knowing she grew up in trauma at a
Mhm.
time we didn't talk about it, like I mentioned earlier. And she did a lot of work to make sure she didn't harm in the way she was harmed.
Right.
But she didn't know what she didn't know. And when her child experiences trauma, that opens up some triggers to things that are not healed. And you
Mhm.
begin to walk along that path to the best of your ability. Well, today there's a lot of tools for families who experience a path like I did. My
Mhm.
family didn't have that. If they did, it might have looked a little different. Now that we have that, why aren't we sharing it with everybody? Why
Right.
do we got to be in harm to know it's there? Right. And then
Right.
I think COVID opened that up. It was like, an aha moment for me. I'm working for 25 years in this field, but I see people at their worst when they're in crisis. The services, the organizations that I champion today, that I worked in and within for 25 years, or were partners in the work for the last 25 years of trying to make mental health, right? Something like we talk about
Mhm.
today. Man, this has been a dream. But now that we're in that world where we're talking about it, how do we begin to show people how to do that, right? Those are two different things.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about something and resonating with that. The programs we work to implement by this best practice and this policy are behavioral health programs, rightfully so, for so many reasons. But what if we did this for everybody?
Right.
What if we started looking at mental health in workplaces, not as an employee assistance program that we put out there and say, go use, but as a
Mhm.
way we lead, as a way we train, as a way we honor people, as a way we say, we're going to have hard conversations and guess what? We're going to disagree. But how do we do that? If we start doing that in those cultures, then maybe we'll have better utilized resources.
Mhm.
And we're not always
Absolutely.
meeting people in crisis. We're meeting people because we're people and we have life and we're all balancing something
Right.
at any
Right.
given time. And some of us are balancing a lot.
Yeah.
And some of us do that better than others. And that's okay too. But we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm here, stepping out on this limb, vulnerably sometimes going, oh, did I say that out loud? But learning way too many times that not saying it got me nowhere. And I spent a lot of time shaming myself as a person,
Mhm.
clinician, as a mama, as a wife,
Mhm.
as a friend, as a dog, all these places. And I don't know, the more people I talk to, and I've talked to a lot of them over the 25 years of my work, we all really have the same thoughts, worries, fears, shames, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think we should talk about it more.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. So, Carrie, by all this going on, you became an author.
I did.
And so
Kind
tell
of
us a
by
little bit about that.
mistake, a dream that I don't know about you, but I really believe in this idea of manifestation and really we are who we talk about, who we think about, who we believe, whether you believe in God or you don't, whatever you believe in. I believe that what we say to ourselves matters and what we say to language matters. And
Mhm.
so I started writing as a way to process my healing with this idea that maybe one day this would turn into something and that I would write my story and I would become an author. Well, that's still a dream on a larger scale than I've achieved yet. But what happened is I started writing about this experience and I was invited to a call for authors through social work, through the
Mhm.
National Association of Social Work, where I'm licensed and certified. And they were looking for authors to talk about this impact of COVID. What has the pandemic done and how do we as social workers, we really like to come from a strength-based perspective. So how do we talk
Mhm.
about the hard, honor it, but also look forward? And I just wrote what had been on my heart. I had had a couple professional experiences between the time of that fire,
Mhm.
with the way other colleagues and other board members and other people that were esteemed that I looked up to treated me,
Okay.
in the face of saying they understood trauma. It was not, actions and words were not aligning, and that was harmful and painful. But I wasn't in a place to talk about it. And then a little bit more recently through COVID, I had some similar experiences with colleagues. I started writing about it and I started creating a curriculum because what's not out there is the how to a lot of it.
Yes.
We
Yes.
haven't caught up to that. And so I wrote a curriculum around, it's called Called to Lead, and it's around leading from these best practices that we know. I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm saying
Mhm.
we already know these things. How
Right.
do we put this into action? Here's what having a hard conversation and disagreement looks like. But first, we got to look at us and what's our reaction. Like my reaction is defense. And I got a
Mhm.
little bit of a kind of sarcastic mouth sometimes. That taught me survival. My
Right.
adolescence, man, that made me survive during those years. But it's not always so pretty today as a 48-year-old woman, right? So I had
Right.
to learn how to modify that. And I talk about that in this training. How do we honor the humanness, but utilize the tools? We don't have to be in crisis to utilize our best practice. And so I started pulling those pieces together, and it was received well. And I trained it in Florida I guess it's about a year ago in June. And then I turned it into an article, and it was published last December, excuse me, in the DC National Association of Social Work
Nice.
Intersections article, which is a specialty practice for other people in our field who are leading, right? And so, what an honor and a
I was
privilege
about to
that
say
was.
congratulations to you.
Thank you. So, and I'm working on another article right now for them as well, and it's around kind of what we're talking about today. Okay, what are we doing well? I mean, look at us. We're talking about mental health openly and vulnerably. That is a win.
Yes. Yes.
And we need to help people do it better. We need to give them the tools for the actions, right? Not just like, here's an employee assistance program, utilize it if you will, but here's how we act that, right?
Yeah.
As leaders, as people working with other people, maybe first we say, pause and say, I wonder why Carrie responded that way. That's different than she would usually respond.
Mhm.
I wonder what happened. Rather than, what in the heck?
What was that?
What's wrong with her? Why would she
Did
talk
she
like
do
that?
that? Oh my
Why would
gosh.
she- And then behind the meeting go, did you hear what she said? Like that's
Mhm.
what we have normalized. And
Mhm.
so I call myself out on it because that's how I learn. And I'm trying to help others say, if we all do this a little bit, we're going to make an impact and we are
Yeah.
stronger together. And so
Yeah.
here I am on this journey of writing about it, speaking about it, and really just working with any company, person who, organization who wants to figure it out too.
Yeah.
We've got the tools. We just have to use them.
Use them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So who are your ideal customers?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It's kind of a variety. I work with one-on-one with people. I love working with female leaders one-on-one because I think females, I'm just a little biased, obviously, but I think we carry a little bit more.
Mhm.
The voices in our head are sometimes, not that they don't exist for men, right? But I relate as a female, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a sister, as all these roles. And so I do a lot of one-on-one work with other women, females, leaders, but I work with organizations to act the act. I look at their mission statements, their values, the organizational standards, and then really start helping organizations have hard conversations about, do we do that? And it's
Mhm.
okay if we don't. How do we do that? What would that look like? And really walking through kind of those strategic integrations of what we
Mhm.
want our workplace mental health employee relations to look like to what our standard business is. And the other way is to just come and talk and do some motivational talking and really encouraging and having hard conversations with people. I think one of the gifts that I bring is that I've finally gotten comfortable in speaking my story. And I
Mhm.
think from what, I don't think I know from what I've received from others, that gives people the opening and the option to share their story. And I want to take that gift, and I get to do that with individuals and with organizations to say, let's do this together. Let's
Yeah.
stop the silent culture. So that's a little bit about me and what I do with people and with others.
Wow, Carrie. So, okay, so you just triggered something for me. So
Okay.
I was talking with my mechanic the other day, and he recently sold a car to a well-to-do family for their son, 18 years old.
Okay.
And the son actually killed himself
Oh,
the next week. And so the father asked the mechanic friend, would he buy the car back from him?
mm,
And he was like, why? It didn't work out. What's going on? And then the guy told him, my son killed himself.
yeah.
So the mechanic was actually destroyed. And I'm like, he really didn't know the little boy. He knew the father, but
Yeah.
just the fact that he just sold this person a car for his son, and that happened.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I don't know how to act. I don't know how to feel. I don't know. This is an 18-year-old kid killed himself. So it's going to be a lot of that going on. Carrie,
Yeah.
how are you and your team, people doing social work like what you're doing? Are they prepared for this? Because it's a lot going on.
Gosh, you bring up so many good points in just that story. And first, it's holding it, right? And we get going in our lane. We get going in our. So if I'm a mechanic and I work with people around their car troubles, and I can, I know what that is, and I hear about these things. I hear about these horrible things that people experience, but I haven't yet had an intimate relationship with that hard.
Mhm.
And someone comes in, and some of us are more sensitive than others. There may be people that would hear that and go, oh, that's so, horrible, and I'm so sorry, and move on. And others it attaches to, and it just kind of penetrates there.
Mhm.
And we're more sensitive. Some people are really more sensitive because you hear these things, but without context, it doesn't yet attach, right? And we do that different throughout our day and our life. I worked with somebody once who was in our field at that organization I spoke about, the human trafficking
Mhm.
organization. It was my administrative assistant, and then she became a communications manager. She was darn good at what she did,
Mhm.
and she was very administrative and creative and all these things. But for her to hear us talk about a survivor in the context of the work we did every day had such an impact on her, and she carried it and she brought it home. She couldn't let go, and she thought about it, and she dreamt about it, and she woke up thinking about it. Like, it stuck with her. And she had heard me talk one day about vicarious trauma, and she aha momented to me because I didn't think about her in that moment. I should have,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
thought about my social workers and my team. And we forget that we all are impacted. That's being trauma informed. It's another definition of being trauma informed. That's recognizing that the events or the circumstances that we encounter the
Mhm.
encounters of our life matter and they have impact. And it might be one that we hear about that matters and sticks with us, or it might be that we've experienced some things and over time it really impacts us. We all have a different, kind of scale, if you will,
Right.
of tolerance. And I think what's important to remember is when we notice, when we become aware, which is a principle of being trauma informed, it's recognizing that bad, hard, horrible things happen to
Mhm.
everyone on different scales. We begin to realize the impact of that, right? And then as we notice that, now he's going to respond a little different the next time he hears somebody. And what I tell people is if you're sensitive and you're now noticing, that's what you can do with that energy.
Yeah.
Is really just hold that the next time you get a customer who doesn't tell you that their son just died and instead comes in and maybe says, I need you to buy this car back, and gives you no detail, and maybe they're not nice about it.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened,
Yeah.
right?
It'd be a whole different story, probably.
Whole different
No,
story.
whole
You bring
different
up
story.
such a valid example of, in my field, we talk about the experts, we talk about these big T, little T's, right? Big traumas, little traumas.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. It all has impact. And
Right.
whether it's one or many, big or small, if we all start to just pause a little and notice that we are all dealing with something,
Right.
it gives us a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of grace for one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Carrie, tell
Yeah.
people how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, well, I have a website, so carriefreshourconsulting.com, and I'm also on all social media, but I'll be super transparent. I don't love social media. I love parts of it, but I'm not great at it. And I get super anxious about thinking I have to post or I have to do this or did I offend somebody? That's the parts of me I'm still working on. But you can find me on social media, and it's just Carrie Freshour LLC on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook are the ones at TikTok. My daughter and I do this new thing called Dear Younger Me, and we do a little reflection of our relationship and the things I
Oh,
wish
that's
I
sweet.
knew. So you can find that on TikTok. That's a fun place to find me, a little off kilter, a little less professional, and just being real. So, yeah.
I love it.
Thank
Absolutely
you
love
so
it.
much for this conversation, for that story about your mechanic, because those are the stories. Honestly, I can tell you the big stories, right? Those little stories are what matters and connects us. And I'm really glad you shared that.
Yeah. Well, so give me some words of wisdom. So if we have a person that is trying to inspire to be the same thing you are, a consultant, a coach, a speaker, an author, what type of words of wisdom would you give that person?
Yeah, gosh. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is my mantra, keep going forward. The second is just to, I think, I always get other people's quotes a little out of order, but it's just to start, right?
Mhm.
I get so caught up and have and still do today get caught up in what I should be doing or I should have said, or should I focus more on this? Start with something and put it out there. As social workers, especially clinical, people in the behavioral health field, people really doing anything that want to go into consulting and doing more. I think what COVID has taught us is that you can. And
Yeah.
that business and doing things looks a little different than it used to. There's less barrier. We can also get caught up in the social media of it thinking that it's instant. It's not. It's not. You just
Mhm.
start. You put yourself out there by saying, I'm going to write a little bit. And if I think it's good enough, I'm going to put it out there in a blog and share it. Or maybe I'm just going to do a quick little video and get on and say, hey guys, if anybody else is feeling this way, I've been overthinking things for so long in my entrepreneurial career. And the other day I just posted something saying, I wonder if this will help somebody. And it was about me having confidence by looking in the mirror. There was a time when I looked in the mirror and literally all I could find, my therapist would say, find one thing that's positive. And I would look in the mirror and I'd look to my feet and I'd say, I have cute toes. I literally could find nothing.
That's
But
cute.
somebody once told me I had cute toes and I held on to it. And I was like, I kind of do have cute little toes. And that's all I had. That's all I had. And today I can look in the mirror and I can list a bunch of things that I love about what I see back. And that took time. Just start by finding one thing or working on one thing or saying, I'm going to do one thing. Start there.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take that word of wisdom, those nuggets, and I'm going to share it. I love that. Find one thing about yourself that you can compliment yourself on today. One thing.
Because we're all so
One,
critical. We're going to always find the critical. So,
yeah,
one thing.
one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say my one thing today that I like about myself, I had a chance to meet you.
I love it. This has
And
been
it was
just a
wonderful.
joy. I really love that our energy and our time connected, and I think we should stay in touch. I love what you're doing. It's
Absolutely.
kind of brought me an attention to you. You're making impact. You're
Well,
putting
thank
us,
you.
people like me, who are just, one woman shops, right? Trying to make an impact, and bringing along people, anybody who wants to join. And
Absolutely.
so how do we lift each other up in that? And as females, we need to lift each other up more, right?
Absolutely.
Just because
Absolutely.
someone's looking at you doesn't mean they're being critical. It might be saying, "Damn, you look good," and I want to look that good too.
Right,
You know,
right.
and we just have to lift each other up more.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot of
that's the
hard
thing I like about women though. Women can do this quicker than guys, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, DJ T Nice. But yeah,
Well,
women
I
get
didn't
everything.
always believe that though. I grew up literally believing the exact opposite, and all my friends were guys. It was like I could talk to them without the drama, the judgment, at least in my mind, right?
Mhm.
And now I'm with you. Like females, we hold a lot of power. We have
Yeah.
a lot of power, and we unite together, and we do this. Man, it's us against the world.
Well, we can move the mountain.
We
We can
really
do it.
can. We really
Yeah.
can. And you're doing it, and I love it. And I'm grateful for the invitation to be here with you today.
Oh,
So thank
absolutely.
you.
And we're gonna have you back. This is
I
not
love it.
goodbye.
Let's do it.
Stay in
Let's do it.
touch.
All right.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, this concludes our show for today. Carrie, tell everyone goodbye.
Bye, guys. Until next time. See you soon.
SKST Radio.